morning, everybody, and welcome to Expana's Tuesday morning market update. Today is Tuesday, July the 9th. I hope that your day is going well so far. So this morning, we have the pleasure of once again visiting with Josh Bickert. And you might recall that Josh spoke to us just a week or two back about the salmon market, but he wants to bring forth some of the less than inspirational market conditions that are in play for us in the world of sailing. Some of you know that I like to sail. We call these the doldrums. When there's no wind, nothing's happening. Josh, good morning to you. Hope you're doing well today.
Good morning, Russ. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, doing great. Hope everybody had a great 4th of July. Yeah, salmon world, we call it the doldrums as well. We're past 4th of July, summer's here, and supply is most definitely outstripping demand. I mean, every year we take a look at this, and the question becomes when the drop begins, if there's any hiccups or outside events that can affect the supply somewhat and maybe prop things up a little bit here or there. But overall, we are going to see that it's behaving very characteristically of what we typically see, come July. And there's a couple things that we can point out here. So we're going to start out, we're going to look at just the overall farm salmon index. And we can see here as a red line, 2024, we've just recently dipped below the 5-year average. Although things have seemed, relatively weak at the start of the year for the farm salmon complex in general, they have been above the 5-year average and doing quite well there. We just recently in the month of June, with all the drops and decreases that we had, came below the 5-year average there. And this index is just an amalgamation of everything, whole fish, fillets, it all gets processed in together just to give an indicator of what the entire complex is doing. If we move on to, let's say, West Coast whole fish, one of the steeper declines that we've seen this year, a little bit more exaggerated even than what we've saw last year. We dipped a little bit lower. Most of that can be attributed to the fact that all 3 major producers out in Western Canada are producing, and that 8 to 10 pound filletable size is under pressure from just about everything. You have Chilean fillets that are getting shipped out to the West Coast. There's European, Scottish, Norwegian making their way over there. And it's just, they're trying to garner market share. So they're, dropping prices to incentivize in hopes of garnering some of that market share. Same story if we move right on over to European fillet. That's been an interesting story this year. Usually we see that a little bit more propped up. Again, an extremely low fall off. It seemed that supply on those European fillets came in hot and heavy into the Northeast, particularly where they tend to be more prevalent. Some market participants speculate that it could be due to the fact that we had a lot of winter wounds at the start of the season where they were detrim with the skin on is a little bit less. They can't ship that out. They have to process fully so that it is a complete product out of Norway. And as that kind of cleaned up and we saw less E-trim and more D-trim, which is a little bit more prevalent here in the U.S., it seems there was an influx of supply, which obviously led to lower prices. The interesting thing with the European fillets is into the Northeast, it really came up against the Chilean to almost the exact same price point. When you add in, Chile coming from Chile into Miami and then the trucking up from Miami to the Northeast, it was literally just about the same price point for the last 3-4 weeks as what a Chilean fillet was in many cases there. Moving on over quickly, we have that Chile fillet I was just talking about. They, however, have held slightly better. You can see that decrease isn't nearly what we've seen in the last few charts that I've showed you. It seems to be propped up a little bit. That could be due just to their footprint in retail and the way that the retail deals with Chilean fillets much more than, not that they don't with Norwegian, but they do tend to, the volume for Chilean tends to be a bit more at that price point. But they've had a lot of factors as well. There's, Chile's the southern Chile is the opposite weather pattern that we're seeing. So while it's summer here, it is the middle of winter in Chile. So for example, a week to 2 weeks ago, they had a terrible snowstorm down there that blocked roads and prevented, trucks from getting to the airport and making their way up. So you get supply disruptions like that, and it can, impact what's making its way to the US, and then at what price point they need to they need to be at. Just to kind of comment on that a little bit more, to see something here, some of these that I've just showed you, and we talk about that drop off. And let's look at it from the start of the year. This is the percentage change, and what we dropped off from the start of the year, just as an arbitrary starting point, nice and easy, January 2024. And we can see the Chilean fillets here at the top. We've come down year-to-date change has been about 9%. Like I said, they're holding a little bit better. Come down here, here's that European fillet holding a little bit better. So we have both fillets kind of holding up a little bit nicer. We tend to see a little bit of a lag at retail, where when there are these drops, it's a little bit later that we see it in fillets as opposed to whole fish. And speaking to that, here's whole fish right here. Is your West Coast with a 20% drop since the start of the year. And Norwegian, which we've seen a lot of Norwegian whole fish this year, seems to be quite a push for volume coming in at a 35% decrease. Just some stats on that may attribute to the fillets kind of holding. Year-to-date features, retail features, are about 3% higher than what we've seen in 2023, just meaning that they've been, advertised and featured in a retail flyer that much more often. And overall, they've been about 2.4% lower than what we saw last year at the retail level. So that could speak to seeing those fillet prices hold up a little bit better than what we're seeing the whole fish. It'll be interesting. Typically it can be a little bit volatile through the summer, and tends to really get range bound come September. We'll be looking at a lot of biological issues, especially further up north into Canada, where we do start to see warmer water, where biology becomes a little bit more of an issue and disruptor. But as always, something going on in the salmon world, and we'll keep a close eye on it for you.
And thank you, Josh. As a consumer of salmon, that was all music to my ears. More features, lower prices. That sounds good. And as always, we appreciate the education you provide us and your time this morning. So we're going to move a little bit from the surf, if you will, to turf. And on the turf side of things this morning is Todd Unger. Good morning to you, Todd. Hope things are going well. My understanding is you're going to speak to us a little bit about beef varieties, a general overview, and even some new market coverage. Hope you're well.
Good morning, Russ. Hope you're doing well as well. Good morning, everybody. So yeah, I just wanted to give a brief update as to what's been going on in the beef varieties market. We've talked about box beef and some of the oddities that have happened through this year with lean material shortages and slaughter issues and so on and so forth. And I just wanted to highlight that the box beef market isn't isolated in that. This has spilled over into the varieties market this year in quite a significant way for a couple different items. This is just our beef variety sheet. All of our new quotes. We have a forward window now, 15 to 60 days, and an export quote. These will be more lively in the coming weeks. But I just wanted to touch on some of these leaner items. So if we go into cheek cow meat, for example, we're currently sitting at 52-week highs. They're up 25% year to date right about now, and only about 10 cents off our all-time record highs. Once again, just speaking to that shortage of lean material in the market, whether you need it for burgers, patties, hot dogs, you name it. The market is searching at every corner for lean material. The fed stuff, fed cheek meat, has been a little more range bound, as you can see, but still operating on an average 45 cents higher than year ago levels. So, even though this is a little less sought after just because of the lean point, it's still finding its fair share of love in the market right now. If we talk about tongues, international demand has remained pretty robust given some of the currency challenges, some of the logistical headaches that we've had. Japan continues to be a pretty strong buyer in this market. And while, the line has been fairly stagnant just because of the consistent trade volumes and the consistent levels that, buyers and sellers are generally in agreement with, we're not that far off from some of the all-time record highs that we saw back in 2021. If we move down to cow ox lip, for example, also another item that is just taken off. Now you can use these for various things. You can put them in soup, stews, sandwiches, you name it. Some of them just are standalone items for taco meat. And that's really what's been going on here in the varieties market. And I really just want to touch on one more thing before I let everybody run is we've talked about slaughter ad nauseum within the Fed sector, but we have not necessarily highlighted just yet what the cow and bull has been doing this year. And as you can see, well, this is where your lean material shortage is coming from. Well below year ago levels, and even last year, quite frankly, we were starting to trend lower than the previous 2 years with what we were doing on the cow and bull slaughter. So this has really tightened up, the lean material. We've seen this demand spill over from every facet of the market. And right now there's just a extreme need for lean right now. So we'll see whether or not that subsides moving forward or if the chase will continue for the remainder of the year.
Well, Todd, as always, we appreciate your time and insight as well. As a matter of fact, we appreciate all of your time today, the contributors as well as the viewership. And we hope that we'll see you again in a video 2 weeks from now. We're going to take a little respite next week, but we'll see you on the 23rd, I believe it is. This has been Expana's Tuesday Morning Market Roundup for Tuesday, July the 9th. Thank you for joining us. Hope you all have a great day.